Thank you for your patience in moving to a new area. We needed to make sure that we had more room in the warehouse to continue cleanup and all that. So thank you very much for your patience in moving to a new spot. The bulk of the ballots, mail ballots, are in the system now. We will have small numbers of mail ballots that that need to be counted through Thursday that relate to the cures, which deadline ends on Thursday, November 12th. The ID required, the deadline was last Friday. We received several thousand emails that have to manually be gone through to verify that the ID was provided on those voters, so we're still working on those. And those will continue to flow through the system. As of this morning, the count on the outstanding cures is still just a bit under 2,000, so we haven't seen a lot of activity on that since the last report. Everybody should be aware that starting tomorrow, or actually today, excuse me, there will only be one report a day. There's no large number of mail ballots that are going in the afternoon, so every morning by 10 a.m. we'll have a new report out on anything that's updated as far as the turnout. Provisional update, we have sent our report to the secretary, so there is work beginning on getting those prepared to be put into the system. And U.S. mail this morning, we've got 24 ballots. Tomorrow will be the last day for us to accept anything through the U.S. mail. And with that, I'll turn it over to you all for questions.
Can you give us a sense of how many ballots are left to be counted? You said they're all in the system and the ballots are all in the system now.
The provisional count has not changed. It's still at about 60,000. So staff is working through on those, and now that we're working with the secretary soon, we should start to be able to put those into the system. The other ones I can't give you a number on the cures or the ID. We're working through them, but they're very small numbers.
Can you give us a time frame on how long the provisional ballot process has taken in the past, sending it up to the Secretary of State's office, having them review it, send it back to you guys so you can process it?
I don't really have a benchmark here in Clark County because we've never had that many provisional ballots. Normally it's in the thousands, and now it's in the tens of thousands. So we have until Thursday to get that all into the system. It's required by AB4. We're hoping that we can start to get those in soon, but I can't really tell you how long. It's all about the match, about returns from the secretary, and them letting us know that we're clear to move forward. But we'll definitely be done by Thursday. Yes?
In terms of the automatic signature verification, do you have an idea as to how many ballots were rejected, at least temporarily, because their signature did not match up, and comparing that to 2016, do you have a rough estimate of that?
In 2016, we didn't have the Agilis system, so there's kind of oranges and apples there on that. The last data that we ran, it's been a while, but we were running through it about 30% on signatures that were verified through the Agilis system. So that means that roughly 70% of signatures were manually being checked by staff.
Joe, an affidavit is circulating around right now on social media. Aaron Ford says he hasn't gotten an official complaint about it, but it's a parent whistleblower from, I believe it was the East Las Vegas Community Center, one of your poll workers, saying that they had complaints about the ballots that they were forced to process and were told to process it anyway. And they also said that there was ballot harvesting happening in the parking lot from the Biden campaign. Have you seen this affidavit? And do you have any comment on what the NVGOP is trying to press there?
I can't link anything as far as the affidavit to East Las Vegas. I don't know where that came from, and I haven't seen anything related to East Las Vegas. We have received that affidavit. It is being reviewed. I believe that PIO has put out some statements on that in response to it, so my statement would be the same as what has already been released. As far as the other one, I have no knowledge of anything related to any ballot drop-offs by any particular vehicle. So ballot drop-offs were available throughout the valley. There were several groups who were participating in gathering ballots and bringing them in. AB4 authorized that. So there's really no issue with groups bringing in those ballots as long as it's to an authorized drop-off location.
Are you concerned that this is coming from within your own workforce, an apparent poll worker?
No, I am not. We've had answers for everything that has been brought forward, and the PIO has released that information to the press. We've had answers for every allegation that's been brought forward. So no, I am not concerned. In the middle?
Can you tell us how many mail-in ballots were reported today and how many are left to be released?
Well, I've already done that. But in this report this morning, I don't have that number off the top of my head, but from yesterday's last report, it was in the thousands. The new report today, not tens of thousands, thousands, but we can get that information off of the website. What was the second half of your question?
How many mail-in ballots are left to be counted?
It's the cures. So anybody that cures through Thursday, and then those IDs that were required, the deadline was Friday. Many people sent responses into that. It's a manual process of going through, checking the email, printing out the ID so that we can get that ballot counted. Small numbers, it'll be in the thousands at the most.
Bill, I want to ask, do you know how many votes are left to count in the Clark County District C race?
No, there's no way for me to report on precinct specific the ballots that are, I do not.
Mr. Gloria, is it too soon to ask if AB4 was a success? And would you advocate for using the same sort of mail, a widespread mail process, with even outside a pandemic?
I think you're going to be very disappointed with my answer. I think I've mentioned in previous press conferences, I don't make policy, I administrate elections. So whether or not it's been a success would be something you'd want to ask your legislature. They're the ones who put through the bill. We simply act on it and do what's required by law to process votes. So I really don't have any other comment other than that. In the back?
Joe, you know there's been a lot of questions about signature verification. I'm sure you saw the pictures of ballots piling up in mailboxes. If someone found like 9 ballots in their apartment complex and they signed them with their handwriting, how many of those ballots do you think would have been counted?
I'm not completely aware of exactly what you're talking about as far as pictures. I have not seen any pictures of large...
You ever seen pictures of ballots at apartment complexes in the trash on the side of the road?
I have not.
Okay, so there have been.
Okay.
So if someone found, say, 9 ballots at their apartment complex and just signed the person's name with their handwriting,
Number
how
one,
many of those ballots would have been accepted?
they'd be breaking the law. That's a felony.
Yeah.
You shouldn't
How
be
many
voting
votes would
anybody
you
but
guys-
your own ballot. And if they came through, we would still have the signature match to rely on for identity.
And are you confident that the signature match would stop all of those ballots?
I'm confident that the process has been working throughout this process, yes. In the front.
There's been many claims by President Trump and the GOP of election fraud. What can you say to ensure that the public can be sure that this is a fair election?
I can say that we've had responses to any of the allegations that have been put through. Again, the PIO has been doing an excellent job of sending out updates on that information. We will look into anything. We have sent information to the Secretary of State. They have an investigative team. They are currently looking into quite a few things. For those folks in the general public, we have the data. So if there's anything that's been done illegally, unfortunately, we're gonna find it. And the Secretary, I'm certain, is going to be vigorously going after anybody who tried to test the system. So yes, they should have confidence in our voting system.
Can you give us an
Right there.
example?
I know that you've mentioned in the past that the Agilis system has really been a game changer for you all in trying to get through as many ballots as possible. I was wondering if you could speak to, how working with that system has been, calibrating it, to meet your standards, just what all of that has been like at this point.
Oh, well, we worked directly with the vendor, ran several tests in getting into the election. As far as I'm concerned, we couldn't have done what we did this election without that. We had the pandemic to worry about, so hiring large numbers of people and finding enough space for them to work safely and social distance would have been a tremendous challenge. So by running it through the Agilis system, which automated much of our process in getting things into batches and checking for signatures, 30% of those signatures were matched by the system, which took a burden off of my staff. So the Agilis was a big difference in making sure that we were able, we had assistance from the Secretary of State to bring that in. We couldn't have done it without that automated process, and if we move into a situation where we're doing large numbers of mail ballots in the future, we'll be looking to enhance that system as well. There was a question over here.
Can you give us some sense of what some of the issues were? There are all sorts of things out there, like, people who were on the voter rolls that were deceased. Can you give us some sense of what's been sent to the SOS, to the Secretary of State?
There's been several issues. I'm confident that in each of those issues, in working with my PO, we've released responses on that. There's too many of them at this point for me to address them all. But there hasn't been an allegation put forth where we haven't submitted information to the Secretary so that they could look into it, or that has not been addressed by my PIO.
You mentioned this Agilus system was implemented after 2016. So how accurate would you say that this system is? Is it possible that it could be flawed and there might be problems for this election?
We don't have any indication that that is the case, and it was, 2016 is a long time ago. It was implemented this year. We began using it in the primary, so I don't have any reason to believe that it's not functioning properly. There?
One more question. You've mentioned the past couple of days how hard your staff has worked to pull all of this off. But with all of these allegations that are out there, they in effect call into question the integrity of this office, you and your staff. I was wondering if you just had to say anything on that for those people who are questioning the integrity of this whole process.
My staff leaves those responses to me. They've been very dedicated in their work, and in fact have received a second wind as a result of the challenges, because they work with this every day and are very familiar with our processes and confident that we're doing and being fair to every member of the voting community in Clark County. So I haven't had any challenges in dealing with my staff. They're doing an excellent job, continue. And as I say, they seem to have a pep in their step because they know that we're getting close to the end here. And as far as I'm concerned, they've done an extraordinary job this year. We're not done yet, but if it hadn't been for them, we wouldn't have made it.
Mr. Gloria, are you able to describe for us if you've had any security incidents or situations involving your staff or the process?
I think you're all aware that we've had quite a bit of activity here at the election department. I've mentioned on several occasions that as a result of leadership in the county, and I'm talking specifically about our commissioners, our chairwoman, our county manager, they've all done an excellent job of making sure that Sheriff Joe Lombardo personally called me to make sure that we were comfortable with what was going on as far as the coverage. Our Park Police, North Las Vegas Police Department, they've all done an excellent job of making sure that my staff can feel secure in this building. They make sure that we have an opportunity to leave the building safely. So I think, yeah, there has been some things that we're concerned about, but the coverage that we're getting from law enforcement has been outstanding, and my staff feels safe here. In the middle?
Can you tell us if any local candidates have asked for a recount, and if so, when would that process
I have none. They can't make that until after the canvass, and then they have a period of time in order to submit that. And then they'll have to, we'll have to generate a cost for exactly what it'll be to run that through the system again, and they'll have to pay prior to us moving forward with a recount. But we're expecting that somebody might. There are some close races, so we'll be prepared to do it, and then you'll find very clearly that it indicates that all of our counting has been correct.
So just to clarify, when would you expect the votes to be certified?
Monday, November 16th, 1 p.m., Clark County Commission Chambers.
And I have questions here for you that document questions, and you see the staff this year did a great job during this election, and you have no problem with them. How about those voters? They are challenged and question about the integrity, or they are asking those. Do you have any comments to them?
I believe your question was, do I have any comments for the citizens who have written in with situations that we needed to deal with? Is that?
Every day, so we saw a lot of voters here, and they are asking to the election integrity, and also they have those issues. And did you hear anything, or when they challenge about whether it's a voter fraud engaged in this election, what is your comment on that?
Again, you've kind of put a very broad-based question out there. As far as the general public and their interaction with the department, we've done everything we can when they reach us at the counter or on the phone to answer their questions on any confusion. I think a lot of the questions are coming from bogus calls that are going out from some groups in the community stating to the voters that the vote has not been counted. And then they're trying to go through and verify and expecting to see vote history posted on the record. And I've mentioned on many occasions in these press conferences that vote history will not be posted until after the election. The only thing that Ballot Tracks and my system can tell a voter is that we've received their ballot. As far as challenges, again, everything that's been brought to our attention, my PIO has been on top of it. They're reporting and giving responses to the media. He's put out regular updates throughout the day to answer a lot of those questions, and I stand with him. We are finding explanations for every challenge that they bring up, any questions that they have related to the integrity of what we're doing, we have a response. All we want to do is count votes. All we want to do is count votes. Right there.
Along the lines of your last answer, when you said that the voter history won't show up until after the election,
Right.
How long is that time frame? Because I know there's a lot of folks out there who are still wondering if their ballot has been counted, and they're just kind of waiting in limbo.
Well, not in limbo. That process has not changed. We've made it clear exactly when that'll go out there, and it's been the same for many years. So it's an electronic process that we start to roll up there. We've had excellent turnout. It's going to be nearly 80% when we're all done, so it takes time to get those records up. We'll have our vote history posted, and then we'll get it to the Secretary of State. So sometime shortly after the canvass, we should be able to get the information updated. Right there.
So your office is investigating 2 cases of 2...
Not my office. We don't have an investigatory team. We've provided information to the Secretary, who has investigators. But go ahead.
Do you believe there are actually thousands of those cases as the GOP?
How would I know that? There's no way for me to know.
How does your office, or how do you catch those fraudulent votes if they are, indeed happening?
When they're reported to us. Any serious allegation that's brought to this office is always taken seriously, and we forward the information because we have it. And it goes up to the Secretary. If we find somebody who's broken the law, they'll be vigorously going after those people, and there will be penalties and possibly jail time. That's it. Thank you very much, folks. Appreciate you.